Hey family, welcome back to another episode of Unmute Your Mic podcast. And you are here with your host and your favorite coach, Coach Lauren J, and my co-host and one of my favorite people, Jeremy Watkins. So have you ever reacted in a moment and thought, why did I just do that? Like, were you trying to start a fight? You were trying to shut down, but suddenly you were defensive and distant or just completely overwhelmed. But what if the real issue isn't your partner at all, but a wound that keeps getting activated? So listen, today we're talking about triggers and where they really come from, why they hijack your reactions, and how fear quietly takes over your communication without you even realizing it. And so today's topic, if you're wondering what we're talking about, give us the title. Your triggers. They're ruining your relationship. So we're going to get into the conversation. I know somebody just went back and thought, oh, I did just go off for no reason. What Monica said, I didn't mean to cause you no pain. I just want to go back. So that's that. Come on, Jan. So we talking about these triggers today. We're gonna talk about where they really coming from. So I hope that you're ready because it's gonna be a great conversation. It's gonna be a great conversation. So Jay, I hope you're ready.
Always ready. You know me. Always going into deep places and curious thinking and always adding God to the conversation to see what he thinks about it. So, we stay ready for that.
So then let's start into the conversation. So we're talking about triggers. Where do you think most people know where their triggers come from or that they're even being triggered?
I think that people are aware of their triggers. I just think people don't understand the source of them. So knowing a trigger, understanding a trigger are two different layers in the trigger experience, right? And I think because a trigger is kind of complex because a person could be completely innocent in something that they're doing and they're not even causing you harm or dismay or trying to stir up frustration. They could just be being themselves. And in a moment, it could flare up something that somebody did to you from 20 years ago. And you'll take out on them something that somebody did to you from 20 years ago. And you'll make this person guilty for something that they didn't cause.
Yeah.
And because we don't have understanding or the historical context of a trigger, this is why it causes so much resentment, so much pain, so much distance, so much disconnection. Yeah. This is what stands in the way of true intimacy, is because of our lack of understanding what has happened to us, while also including God happening to us. And as long as we don't have the God happening to us, we will always be depending on a person to make sure that we remain untriggered in order for us to keep choosing them. And that is not a safe place for love to dwell.
Ooh. So you starting early.
I never come late. Hello. Come on.
No, that's really, I was thinking about my own journey and thinking about okay, when did I stop to realize wait, where is this really coming up for me? Why am I reacting this way? Right. And what I realized was that a lot of times the triggers that we're having as an adult, those things stemmed in our childhood. And so we're reliving it with a new person that we love, with a person that we still love, but from an older life, right? So you still love your mama, but but now you're triggered by your partner because they both women. This was in front of you, but so you're still it's almost like you're still that 7-year-old, you're still that 8-year-old, even when you're 40, even when you're 38. So and being able to identify that, and so I think the main thing is being able to not just identify, but say to someone when you I know you're not saying this to try to hurt me or demean me or just make me feel like my feelings do not matter. but this is what I say. This is what my heart hears when you say this. And that makes me want to fire back. And I gotta stop because I'm like, oh wait, this not even that person. This not even that situation. This not even the whole thing. And oftentimes we don't always give people that context and say that to them. Like for me, I don't like raising voices. I don't like raising voices. Like in my childhood, raising voices, like my dad said, like, if you said something and he felt like it was mouthy, he'd be like, what you said? And that what you said really wasn't, it was more like rhetorical. It really wasn't, don't repeat what you said. Because we're calculating on your tone. And then the response is going to be very aggressive, right? And so for me, it was fine. It's like, what you said? In that moment, I'm like, are we about to fight? Like what? Like it's like my brain will go, and I'm like, oh wait, no, they really didn't hear what you said. Like I'm saying, even my boys will say, they're like, well, what you said, and I'm like, don't talk to me like that. Then I'm like, wait, they really didn't hear what you said. So we make something that isn't a bad thing, but it really it stemmed from that for me. It's like sometimes I have to say, even to my baby boy, because he has a tone. Sometimes his tone is just it's too direct, and I'll have to say it's not what you said. It's in your tone. It's in your tone, and then I have to come back and share like what is that connected to, and so then at that point it brings like this reconciliation, but then it also brings this resolve. And so I think the beautiful thing about love and people and the complexity of us all is that when you get to share and expose like where your journey has been and what it's been like for you, then at that point, like it's almost like that nothing heals a wound like exposure. There's some healing that can really take place, and then you can move from that from a different space. But I still am that person that if I hear somebody raising their voice, I will instantly get quiet because I don't like raising voices.
That's great context to know, because what that does is it helps you communicate to the person that you're communicating with your history, because now you can provide understanding.
Yeah.
And when you have understanding, guess what it does? It keeps the trigger from swelling. And now we're no longer in defense or offense. Now we're back in connection and intimacy. When the presence of someone being wronged is there, it doesn't snuff out the love. And this is why it's so important for us to like walk through what we've been through with God.
Yeah.
Because now, even if my partner, friend, or family member doesn't understand me, the lack of them understanding something that they didn't experience, they weren't in my shoes. They weren't in my body. They don't process the way that I process the pain, even if they can say something similar happened. They weren't the oppressor. They weren't the person who offended me or wronged me.
Yeah.
So even the pressure of somebody trying to understand something that they technically possibly can't even keeps the trigger from even having a deeper root in us than it already does. And so like a trigger isn't a bad thing. And just because you're triggered doesn't mean something's wrong with you. How we're able to process the trigger is what determines whether we transgress or whether we remain in love.
Yes.
Those are the two choices we're in. And we will remain in love when we have already had God's examination of the thing that the trigger is still attached to. Well, what does God say about me growing up as a little boy? And my mom worked 3 jobs. And even though everybody calls my mom a superhero, well, to me, she felt like a villain because, yeah, you had to put food on the table, but you didn't show up for me.
Yeah.
I didn't get to have an emotional relationship with my mother. I didn't know what it was like to be nurtured by a woman. I didn't know what it was like to have my mom cuddle me and coddle me, to soften all the edges of me, or to support the uniqueness in me while I was getting bullied and rejected by my cultural peers. So because I didn't have that experience, it created a belief system in me that my mom doesn't love or value me. Right?
Yeah.
So anytime somebody would show up and they started to create distance, I would automatically not say anything and just let the distance have its way, because that's what I'm used to from a motherly or womanly figure. So the moment that somebody is too busy, I just automatically let them be in their busyness, because that's what I knew as a child growing up with the first relationship with a woman who was my mother.
Yeah.
And so these are things that I've had to go back and talk to God about and be like, hey, Jer, just because your mom wasn't able to be intimate with you doesn't mean that she didn't love you.
Yeah.
And then when I went back and talked to my mom, what really kept the trigger from swelling into transgression or creating disconnection or distance, I got to understand, Mom, what happened to you? What was your story before you became the mother of Jeremy Watkins? What were you going through while you were mothering Jeremy Watkins?
Yeah.
And when I got to see what her experience was, I was like, you didn't even have room to love me even if you didn't work, because of all the things that had happened to you.
Yeah.
So like what helped me realize that the trigger didn't have to have power over me, and it didn't have to bother me, and it didn't have to be the wisdom that persuaded me how to respond, is when God took me back to where he saw what I was experiencing as a child. And he was like, I was there. Let me tell you the real story. And that's what's so beautiful when we let God back into the things that hurt us.
Yeah.
Is he tells the whole story, because he sees what's happening to everyone in it, where you only see what's happening to you. And so that's what helps us navigate a trigger. Trigger is not a negative thing.
Yeah.
It's how we process it, how we respond to it as well. And then also, I think a thing that a trigger can easily deceive somebody in is when they're experiencing it, is they think that they need something from the other person in order for the trigger to go away. Our obsession and our codependency on human need is actually what stands in the way of us having true intimacy with one another and having the deepest form of God-designed connection with one another. That in fact, when I am triggered, it's actually not the human being I need anything from. I need God. So what would it look like, Lauren, when we experience triggers, instead of trying to get somebody to resolve it for me, we go to the Father together for him to be the resolve? What would that do in that experience?
I mean, literally, like it's like walking you to the healer. You know what I'm saying? Like let's go down to the healer. But it would bring reconciliation faster than anything, because the first person that would be there to reconcile you is God, right? And then having someone there in flesh, like that you can touch, right? Who can sit there, sit in and with you, and not try to fix it and not try to change you, but just be there in the experience with you, exploring the experience with you. And I think that is the thing. And for me, one of the reasons that like I will get quiet. It's not because I'm shutting down and I don't want to talk. It's because I'm too careful now. Like I'm too methodical. Like I'm like, let's process real quick, because what's really happening? Because then I'm like, wait, 1 second, what's going on? Because a lot of times what we're initially experiencing is not always the totality of the experience.
Facts.
So if we react from that space, now there's so much cleanup that you have to do. And so I just elect to be more careful, because I'm like, I don't want to do all this cleaning up that we don't have to do. Like I really, because to be honest with you, I can't stay mad long. I have a 30-minute time limit on being angry or frustrated or any, like 30 minutes. After them 30 minutes, I need to either have a solution and a plan that we're going to execute, or I just need to leave it alone, because there's nothing to do. But what I'm not going to do is keep talking. So I'll be like, Cher, you still mad? How long? Because I got a 30-minute time. First of all, time is a non-refundable investment. I ain't got time to be mad for 3 days. Like, I just don't. I'm a crack a joke. I'm a move on. Like, I move on very quickly in things because I'm like, it's not really, I don't take life that serious, but that's not the average person. And I wasn't always that way. I could hold a grudge, baby. I could not talk to you 6 months, 12 months. It didn't really matter. I can mental funeral you in a minute and go home. Amy has a funeral food at the repast and everything. So when God had to heal me from that mindset and really help me understand what those things are really tied to, now I'm quick to forgive. I'm quick to let it go. Because, oftentimes it's easy to hold on to those emotions and be I call it justifiably mad. It's easy to be that way until it's you. Because you find a whole bunch of grace when you done messed up. Oh, it's my bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be late. I didn't. But we don't always have that same grace for other people. And a lot of times we don't have it for our partners. And so, because I don't think we've really been shown a good model of like, what does it look like to not be on the same page, but still be in the same heart?
Yeah, man. And we're like the first generation of our nation's existence. I can't say the world because I haven't lived in other places.
Me either.
Where we are the first generation that's really learning how to be human for the first time. So our generation right now, we are carrying the weight of what the previous generations didn't practice. And so now we're trying to figure out how to be human. What does human look like? All these emotions that I've thought you're supposed to just push them down and you just tie up your bootstraps and you just work until you get all the American dream materialistic stuff. And you got all your kids through college, you paid off the house, and only to realize that if you make it to retirement, you actually realize that you just dehumanized yourself for the last 40 years. And you were just like cattle trying to make sure that the farm was cared for, only to realize you were less than human, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're changing the narrative on that while we're in the middle of relationships. While we're trying to get into a relationship, while we're trying to sit with ourselves and understand why we feel anxious when we by ourselves, is because we're aware we don't know who we are. And what do we do with that awareness? What do we do when we realize that we have these triggers, right? So we're now getting this language all in the midst of still having to life.
Yeah.
And when we realize that everyone is showing up that way, man, we have so much grace to give. And we don't put pressure on people to be things that you're still learning how to be in the midst of your own life, right?
Yeah.
And so another layer about a trigger as well is we get triggered even when we are loved. It's not just pain that triggers us.
I'm on to talk about it.
It's also love that triggers us. And the wonderful thing about love starts touching the places where fear has been the father of us, because they can't exist. They can't coexist together. The scripture says perfect love casts out fear.
Cast out fear.
And you know what the fear is? The Bible says for the fear of punishment.
Yeah.
And not only is it the fear of punishment, we think that God is going to punish us. That's a fear, and he's not. But we also think the world and people are, right? When we were raised, we were told, don't talk to strangers. Right. And then all of a sudden, as we got older, we practiced that with everybody and realizing that everybody is a stranger until we open up space to get to know them and they get to know us. They didn't go the next step with that. Right. And so now we're when somebody comes in to love us in ways that we haven't experienced humanly, now we start having these fear tactics. Now we start using scripture to be the propaganda for us guarding ourselves because we're really afraid of being hurt again. Yeah. And so when love shows up, what happens when I'm triggered when I'm loved by someone? What happens when I'm triggered when somebody actually shows up and they want to stay? What happens when somebody shows up and they actually make me feel safe? What happens when someone shows up and they don't need anything from me? What happens when someone shows up and they actually have a vision of a life that I actually get to be who God created me to be in when I've been living in survival and independence my whole life. I don't know what it looks like to be a partner because I've only had me to be the partner too. Like there's so many transitions that we get morphed into when love shows up that we are not in the moment that we're experiencing it. And we have no idea how to navigate that space. We have no idea how to process that space because we've only known what to do when offense shows up for the trigger. But what happens when love goes?
Oh, come on. You don't went there. This sit in my seat good. We don't know how to sit with that. You know, I say all the time, we are always prepared for something to fail, but what happens if it just works?
What if it works?
Like, what if you doubted your doubts? I don't think that we doubt our doubts enough. And so because we're so prepared for someone to hurt us or to leave us or to abandon us or to reject us or to take our money and run or whatever it is you're afraid of, it really robs you of the actual experience when the person comes and now they're like, well, I don't want anything. I just want to partner with you. I just want to do what you're doing. Like what you do. I want to do that too. And we almost don't know how to allow that person in because especially when let's go back to a cultural context and we look back at like how we've seen love modeled and like what that's looked like. You know, last week we talked about you don't communicate, you compete. And I shared that you can't really be in connection with someone fully because you don't trust them fully if you're competing against them. Because at some point, if they're doing better than you, they're going to replace you, right? So we can't have true trust. So even when we come into a relationship and, oh, this is so good. Oh, I remember when I had the revelation that competition was really killing my relationships. And that there was a level that I couldn't find myself trusting a person in fully because I was always having to prepare for what's going to happen if it falls apart. And I feel like I shared this on the podcast previously. I don't know if it was with you or before you and I got together and started podcasting. But I remember my dad calling and saying to me and my brother one day, and he was like, y'all graduated. And I was like, sir, I graduated a very long time ago. Fitted moons. I mean, I've got the paper if you need to see. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And my brother's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I don't have to stay on y'all anymore. And my dad's ex-army, so ex-military. And he was like, I made y'all feel like y'all weren't doing enough or good enough when you were a kid. So that way you would do your best, right? So it was almost like, let's use a negative reaction to try to bring out all the good that's in you, right? It's very, don't try this at home. So I was like, what? And he's like, this is how it was when I was in the military. Like, I think it was sergeant. He was like, they never made you feel like you had done enough. They were always finding something wrong, even if you did a really great job to see if they got the actual best out of you. Right. And at the time, initially, when I heard it, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Isn't it crazy?
I just went on mute because I was like, I don't have good words at this point. I had to process it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, I get it. That's fine for Army because you're going to go to battle. It may be your life and somebody else's life.
It's somebody else's life, man.
It may be the person in your group, your precinct, whatever life. So you may have to make a life-altering decision in a moment, and we don't have time for you to do whatever you're about to do. Okay, so that's great to keep you in survival, so you can come home. But that does not work in partnership. So you can't ever really thrive or have fulfillment or have the full enjoyment because you're trying to survive. And so how many of us have been raised under that survival slave type, military type mindset? And I said to him, I was like, Dad, and this is exactly why I've struggled. My marriage struggled because I was prepared for war. I was not prepared for love.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to receive it. I didn't know how to really give it. And now it really makes sense. I was programmed.
Mm.
And how many of us were programmed that way? And so, although, our parents, they want to see us make it, they want to know that you're going to be okay if something happens to them, that you're not going to be on the street with a sign up, and all the things. But when we don't teach our children how to love and be able to model that behavior and be able to celebrate them when they do great things, that's why as high achievers, we struggle so much to sit in the moment and celebrate the great things that are happening. Because we're always on to the next because we're trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what our body reacts to.
Mm.
And so that's not just my testimony. That's a lot of people's. And I was just like, are you all sharing this knowledge? We should not pass this on. I mean, unless we're going to work. We should not. Because it doesn't save the relationship. Saving your life and losing a relationship, was it worth it? Because that's pretty much what we see in our homes now. We're trying to save our life, but we're losing the relationships. We're losing the connection. Because we're at war.
That's good. I said to you, this Pastor Greg got this from a guy, and ever since he said it, it just gave me the greatest visualization of why our relationships are at war. He said, we're like two ticks with no dog, sucking the life out of each other and then resenting each other that we can't give each other life. Mad at each other that we can't be God.
Yeah.
And when love shows up in a way where it's God who is loving us through people, it's always going to trigger that part because we've been codependent on the person to give us what only God can. And so we'll say that a person is abandoning us just because they won't operate in codependency with us.
Come on.
We'll say that a person is unavailable because they've made the weight and the struggle of what you're going through something that they know only God can deliver you from. We'll say that somebody doesn't value us or doesn't see us as worthy because they're not trying to be your provision because they know that that's God's job.
Yeah.
See what happens when love shows up the way that God designs it and it starts to cast out the thing that we've been believing that's actually been a lie to us because we've been letting something that isn't love tell us what love is.
I would.
On the Bible study last night, and your mom said something. She said, Jer, I love the way that you interchange between God and love, like they're the same person. Well, if we lived our life in that way and we saw that God is love and that he's the only person that can tell us what love is, and we started to see when the Bible talks about do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
Well, in that process, what's happening is God's like, can I tell you what love really is? Because I'm the only person who knows that it's true because it's me. How somebody go tell me what I am and am I ain't? I'm God.
Correct.
I am love.
Yeah.
When we go through that process, when we have relationships with people, what God is doing is he's undoing what we've believed about love. And he's bringing something right in that we didn't know we was believing wrongly about. Like, this is one of your favorite topics. Let's talk a little bit about marriage. The reason why a lot, and I'm going to say women on this one, and then I'm going to talk about men too, because it's an equal experience.
Absolutely.
The reason why a lot of women cannot receive men that truly walk in the love of the Lord is because they always forget this one part. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. Well, how did he love the church? He brought them to the Father. He didn't bring them unto himself. In John 17, he says, Father, for those that you gave me, I have told them about you. We want husbands in the name of God to tell them about themselves. Then the second part is wash them and bathe them in the word so that they were without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. What that means is that anything that ain't right about what you're believing about a life, it is your spouse's responsibility to reveal to you about what God believes that thing so he can actually remove the stain of your unbelief or error in your belief system.
That's love.
How many women, especially in this generation, where you have out-educated your men, and now you are almost surpassing them in your income. And you now think that because you have those two earthly achievements, a godly person cannot come and correct what you believe about a life because you have an earthly one that looks like it's highly achieved. Mm. And so on the reverse side, women, submit to your husbands as you are submitted to Christ. Mm-hmm. Well, men have been told their whole life that they're supposed to only live in pieces, provide and protect. That's not the totality of a human being. Absolutely. Those are only pieces.
Correct.
So guess what happens when a woman shows up and she gives all of herself? He has no idea what to do with everything because he only knows pieces. Mm. So this is why a lot of women end up taking on a responsibility that doesn't come with submission, but it comes with the trigger of, well, I'm submitted to him, but you have to mother him because he's in pieces. And now you're trying to be like God and you're trying to mold somebody into your own image or to what you think that they should be instead of trusting God to do it because you've already been submitted to him before you submitted to the person. Mm-hmm. So this is why a lot of women are experiencing so much heartbreak with men because when they are coming wholly submitted, they're choosing men who are in pieces. And God is the only person that can show them who they really are in their wholeness. And so this is the triggers that are happening. And then we create gender wars without seeing why we're not perfectly coagulating together. Yeah. Right. So now there's a trigger. If you can't do this, if you can't do that, then I can't with you. Mm. And then we're like, well, if you can't. And so now we're back in the garden. It's the woman you gave me.
Oh, she was a gift.
But we're saying it's God.
Yeah. Now, come on. Let's go and talk about it.
So how do we process a trigger when love shows up? Mm. God, will you show me what love looks like for me when you see my life? Mm. May you be the author of it. May you be the handiwork of it. May I be the workmanship of your love instead of making you, God, into the workmanship of my love. So people are waiting for God to bring them a person that's made out of their own image instead of God's. And then we'll submit to what we desired, only to realize that's not what God had in mind for what he desired. And so we'll show up for, when we say a counterfeit, people misuse that word. The counterfeit is your wrong idea about love has found you.
You've attracted it.
It's not the person. It's the belief in you. Correct. That allowed you to believe that this was the right version of love.
Come on.
And then we blame another person because you believe wrongly about love. You just got what you asked for. God didn't give it to you.
Come on.
So we have to come into a place of examination with God. Yeah. God, will you search my heart? Mm-hmm. I realize that I can't receive love because I've been defining it from everything outside of you instead of everything from you. Yes. And when you show me what love really looks like, now I'll be able to discern who's really in it and who's really not. Yeah. Because now it's so much easier. Now I don't have to have a list anymore because, man, to experience who you are to me in a person, it wipes all those things away. I mean, it really does, Lauren.
Listen. It does.
It wipes all those things. Oh my God, you're really loved by God. Like you're really persuaded that like all of you is found in this person, which means I get more enjoyment of walking with you because now you don't need me to be to you what only God can be. Now there's a freedom and a liberation. Now there's an enjoyment. Now there's space for us to evolve and be and grow and become all these things. Now love is fun. Because now you don't have to save something. You now get to delight in something. Now I don't have to fight for something. It's already been fought for before the person even showed up. See, the reason why people are fighting for marriages and relationships is because you have two people that have no idea what it's like to let God already win battles for them before their marriage was already in disarray. There is nothing that God can take me through or that anything that I can walk through in my own life of life just being life where I know that God won't bring me through it. I've already seen him do it with everything. So guess what's going to happen in a relationship? He's going to do the same thing. I already have backdated information to show that he's going to win the battle. So the only way that we can truly allow relationships to remain preserved and intact and sustained is that even when we get triggered, even if there's a battle, I know who wins them. God is the only one that can win it, but we're not in it because we're so triggered by what we don't know about love, what we think we know about love, and every other painful thing that's happened to us. Man, you want to know what I'm triggered by? I'm triggered by eternal things. I'm triggered by what God loves to think about.
Yeah.
I'm triggered by what rests on his heart. You want to know why my page is filled with godliness? It's not because like I'm this holy person or trying to portray like this amazing Christian man. That's not what it's about at all. Because, you know, I don't care about no recognition. I'd actually rather not be known at all.
He really wouldn't. Yeah, you don't know how many times I'd had to pray.
That's,
we're gonna talk.
No, for real.
I had to pray. Like, Lord, 5 of y'all done touched on the greedy yet. Hold it.
And I'm telling you, it's so true though.
It is very true.
But what's so beautiful is that like, because my heart is constantly beholding eternal things, I'm thinking about what God is thinking about. My heart is beholding what God is beholding. There's nothing else in the world to talk about other than that. Like, that's why I don't like the Drewski post. It's hilarious. And I'll talk to it about my friends, but I don't share it for the world to understand what they believe, because this is not an eternal conversation. This is not something that triggers an eternal minded thing. Right? Like, so like anything that I am like publicly sharing with people or having something portray from my life, I want people to see what I'm beholding.
Yeah.
And I'm beholding God. Mm-hmm. So what triggers me is when people are not rested in eternal things. I get triggered by that. And it breaks my heart. And you know what I try to do? I try to meet them in the trigger to show them how they were so worthy of a life where this is the things you can be triggered by. You're not even afraid of people coming in to hurt you anymore. You don't have to have all these walls up that somebody's got to be Godzilla and climb over anymore because you're so afraid of what can happen to you. I mean, it's a really great life where you can just interact with anybody and not have to be worried about the offense or what they're going to do to you. Man, I tell you,
it's free.
It is a beautiful thing. Like, I'm not going to share family business because I don't have the right to between my family, but I'll share enough to where as you guys can see what happens when triggers don't destroy relationships. Mm-hmm. My dad and my brothers, my other two brothers, don't have the best relationship with my father for their own reasons that I won't disclose. But God has placed it on my heart. I was like, when my dad is 62, I think, I just celebrated him for his birthday. I'm like, man, my parents are now in the age where like they sound young and they are young, but it could go at any moment. And the last thing that I want to do is have them live out the last years of their earthly life and not have deep connection with their children. So I know what triggers my dad and my brother Jared. I know the history. Mm-hmm. So me and God have been getting in between the triggers, and we've been bringing their hearts to the possibility of what happens if we don't live from the past offense from the triggers.
Yeah.
What would happen if we showed up and reminded each other of how much goodness we experience with each other instead of the separation that we think keeps us safe from one another? Mm-hmm. And once we ruled out the fear of my brother being rejected by my dad and the fear of my dad being taken advantage by my brother, now we have a group chat where they are connecting. Now my brother is being esteemed by my dad. Now he's putting up pictures talking about him. Now my brother's sharing intimate things about his life with us in the group chat. And it's just me, my brother, and my dad, because God put me in between it. Mm-hmm. And like today, like this is so beautiful. My brother posted this video of him playing basketball And like my brother loves basketball. Like if my brother was 6'5", he'd be playing somewhere, but he was 5'4", po thing. But my brother will talk to you like he's 6'6", like he's just that confident.
Yeah.
And me and my dad are like enjoying this experience where he's sharing this stuff. And my dad said, man, I'm so glad you shared it. He goes, man, this really made my day. Oh. And my brother told us how much he loved us. And my dad said, we love you too. Why did I share that? What I'm sharing is, I know that you're afraid of experiencing something that has happened to you. I know that you may not know what it looks like for somebody to stay and love you correctly. I know that you have all these walls up. And as soon as somebody even starts to knock on the door that is molded in between the bricks that separate you from you and the rest of the world, even the sound of the knock causes anxiety that somebody can enter and cause disruption. But I want to let you know, the more you let your triggers decide that pain is always waiting for you, you will never answer to the door to the love that has always been waiting to enter. That's the one thing that we forget about when we allow triggers to decide the story of what is possible through an experience. We keep love from entering. We keep love from coming in to make it stay. We keep love from being home to us because we're so afraid that pain can enter too.